Now, what is the first one? Normative approach in political science. It is a very straightforward kind of question, but let us not forget one thing. What is that? Comment. This is the word. Okay. The word is not answer the following questions, but the keyword as far as the very first question is concerned, it is comment on. Now, whenever we say comment, the explanation has to be part and parcel of the comment, but to the extent of 40 to 50%. And then the rest of the part of your answer must be in the form of comment. Now, what can be that? Why a particular concept is propounded by the given thinker or theory, ideology, whatever it is. Why? So, we need to explain why while commenting on something. Number two, if there is a limiting aspect of the given concept, given thought, given idea, then that limiting aspect, that is a critical aspect, has to be also part and parcel of the comment part. And last but not the least, you have to also bring in the aspect, the dimension of relevance or significance as far as the comment is concerned. So, simply speaking, comment should not be limited to, that is the answer, comment should not be limited only to explanation. Explanation should form 50% part of your answer, and the remaining 50% must be dedicated as far as comment on that given topic is concerned. So, which must include the rational, the logic, the limiting side, the critical side, and even the aspect of relevance or significance. Okay. Number one. Number two, whenever we think of each and every answer, there are two ways of looking at answer. So, one way is the structural way of looking at answer. That is organization, that is a structural way, in which we identify three parts of the answer. In other words, we tend to break down each and every answer in three components. One is the introduction, the second is the main body, and the third is the conclusion. Now, even though these are three parts, but these parts are to be arranged in such a manner that it must emerge as a very well thought out, well organized argument of yours. Okay, and that is what we have done, and I am going to elaborate upon as far as the very first short note is concerned. Okay, number one. Number two, introduction happens to be the very first component of each and every answer. There is no doubt about that. But that introduction has to be very sharp, very precise, and importantly relevant to the question. Now, most often, rather quite often, students are faced with this kind of critical question. What should be introduction of each and every question should like be? वो कैसी होनी चाहिए? So every time any teacher would respond to you as far as that question is concerned, saying कि it depends upon the question. So what is the question and what is the demand of the question? Now the question is quite clear here: normative approach in political science. So we can read that normative approach in pol science is known for its what? Insistence on certain values and norms as standard of political life. So the very first sentence say something very important about the normative approach. Okay. Now look at the second sentence and then ends the introductory part. The classical political thinking from Plato to the end of World War I on one hand, and the post-behavioral as well as contemporary scholars such as Rawls to Macpherson or Marcuse on the other hand, are broadly seen as subscribing to the normative approach. So our first sentence tells something very important about the normative approach. Okay, and what is that? There are two aspects. So one is insisting on certain values as part of what? The standard of political life. So this statement captures as if the essence of the normative approach in political science. And then we have illustrated this by bringing in the scholars, the traditions, the phases as far as the evolution of pol science is concerned, from Plato to First World War on one hand, and post-behavioral era, including the contemporary scholars from Rawls to Herbert Marcuse on the other hand. Here ends the introduction. Okay, now what we have done in the subsequent 5 points, just to bring out all important dimensions of the normative approach. Now you look at just very briefly principles. So principles happens to be the core of the normative approach. Without principles, without values, can we think of the normative approach? It is not possible. Okay. Number two, based on that normative framework, it wants to evolve the ethics of politics. Okay, ethical framework of the politics. This is the second aspect. Now the third, this is also premised on certain values. Normative approach always looks for the best state or best order, such as Rousseau's general will, Marx's communist system, so on. You can bring in any relevant example. The fourth, you just focus on those words or parts of the sentences which are typed in bold letters. Okay, so what is the fourth one? Deal with perennial problems. Critical view of existing reality, because it deals with or seeks to deal with perennial problems. And we have brought in the relevant examples. Gandhi in Hind Swaraj come up with a critical comment on modern civilization, so on and so forth. Okay, and lastly, which is equally important, it is oriented towards change. It demands radical change. So I guess in the form of 5 points, what we have done is to bring out or delineate different 5 aspects of the normative approach in political theory, and very precisely, very sharply. Okay, since the question consists of comment as the keyword, if you look at this part, however, so this is the comment part. However, the normative approach is criticized for, and we have made a mention of 3 limitations, such as disregarding the political reality, okay, and facts, comma, perceiving politics in abstract manner. Say, for example, Plato thought of politics as the domain of ideas, okay, and having preference for a particular value system. So in this very first statement, which is part of the comment part, okay, we have included 3 important limitations. But we have used the format of punctuation. Instead of coming up with 3 sentences, we have included the 3 limitations right in the one sentence, that is the first sentence. Hence, modern political scholars such as David Easton criticize normative approach for being excessively value-laden, abstract and overtly idealistic. Okay, so this is a very substantial comment part of the answer. Nonetheless, this is how we have concluded the answer. Normative approach to political theory is valued a lot for providing a value premises which operates as a normative framework for political conduct as well as political thinking. Now, this one small sentence summarizes the significance of and the value of the normative approach. So, structurally speaking, we have brought in a relevant introduction, an elaborate explanation of the same along with the comment, because that is the keyword, and then a very pertinent and thoughtful conclusion. Now, nothing is unknown as far as all the 3 aspects of the answer are concerned. Therefore, as I stated earlier, UPSC, at least about those 70-75% questions, is essentially the test of writing. How good, how well organized, how systematic, how precise can one write? Okay, so that is what